The rusty swing set creaked. It groaned like a tortured beast. The wind howled through the broken windows of the abandoned schoolhouse beside it. The playground was silent except for these eerie sounds. Twisted metal slides loomed like skeletal remains. The chipped paint on the carousel horses peeled like sunburnt skin. An unnatural stillness hung in the air, heavy and oppressive. The air smelled of decay and forgotten laughter. A thick layer of dust covered everything, undisturbed for years. The once vibrant colours of the playground were now faded and ghostly. The old wooden seesaw was unbalanced, one end stuck high in the air. The sandbox was filled with weeds and strange, twisted vines. A single deflated red ball lay abandoned near the cracked hopscotch grid. The jungle gym's metal bars were rusted, some twisted out of shape. Shadows stretched long and distorted across the grounds as the sun began to set. A chilling breeze rustled through the dead leaves scattered across the playground. The air grew colder, as if an unseen presence had descended upon the area. The silence was broken only by the creaking of the swing set and the distant howl of a dog. The townsfolk whispered stories. They spoke of the abandoned playground in hushed tones. Children were warned never to go near it. Tales of strange occurrences and unexplained disappearances circulated. Some said the playground was haunted by the ghost of a child. Others claimed it was a portal to another dimension. The truth remained shrouded in mystery, but the fear was real. It was palpable. It hung in the air like the dust motes dancing in the fading sunlight. Generations of children had avoided the playground. They knew the stories. They respected the warnings. They understood the unspoken terror that clung to the rusted gates. The playground stood as a silent monument to forgotten fears. It was a place where the veil between worlds felt thin, where the whispers of the wind carried secrets best left undisturbed. The rusty chains of the swing swayed gently, as if pushed by an invisible hand. A shiver ran down your spine just looking at them. Billy didn't believe the stories. He was a curious boy, always pushing boundaries. He scoffed at the superstitions of the townsfolk. He craved adventure, the thrill of the unknown. His friends, however, were not so brave. They trembled at the mere mention of the abandoned playground. They tried to dissuade him. They pleaded with him not to go, but Billy was determined. "Don't be scaredy cats," he taunted. He puffed out his chest, trying to appear braver than he felt. He knew the playground was creepy. He couldn't deny the unsettling feeling he got just looking at it, but he refused to let fear control him. He wanted to prove he wasn't afraid. He wanted to be the hero of his own story. He yearned to explore the mysteries hidden within the rusted gates. His friends exchanged nervous glances. They knew Billy wouldn't back down from a challenge, especially not a dare. "I dare you to go inside," one of them finally said. His voice was barely a whisper. He avoided eye contact with Billy. The dare hung in the air, heavy and charged with an unspoken fear. It was the kind of dare that could change everything, the kind of dare that could lead to regret. Billy grinned. He was hooked. The dare was exactly what he needed. It gave him the excuse he'd been searching for. It justified his curiosity. He pushed open the creaking gates. The rusted metal groaned in protest. He stepped inside the abandoned playground. The air immediately grew colder. A shiver ran down his spine. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. He took a deep breath and started walking. The sun was beginning to set, casting long, eerie shadows across the playground. The shadows seemed to writhe and twist, taking on monstrous shapes. The wind picked up, whistling through the broken windows of the schoolhouse. The creaking of the swings became more insistent, more rhythmic. It sounded like a ghostly lullaby. Billy's heart pounded in his chest. He walked towards the swing set, drawn by its rhythmic creaking. As he got closer, he heard a faint giggling. It sounded like a child's laughter. but it was distorted, unnatural. He stopped in his tracks, his breath catching in his throat. He scanned the area, trying to locate the source of the giggling. He saw nothing, but the giggling continued, growing louder, more menacing. He turned back towards the entrance, a growing sense of unease washing over him. He wanted to leave. He wanted to run. But something held him back, a morbid curiosity, a desire to see what was making the noise. He took a tentative step forward, then another. He was drawn deeper into the playground as if by an invisible force. The giggling continued, echoing all around him. He saw a fleeting shadow near the jungle gym. It moved quickly, darting behind the rusted metal bars. He squinted, trying to see what it was. He couldn't make out any distinct features, but he knew it was something that wasn't supposed to be there. The giggling stopped abruptly. The silence that followed was even more unnerving. It was a heavy, expectant silence, the kind of silence that precedes a storm.